Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we are looking in the files of the dev server, and there's a ton of vehicles that are sat in the files this time. A lot of them are naval vehicles, so we're going to have a look at those, and then also a few of the ordnance options that are available. There'll be timestamps for everything, so if you want to check out anything, you can just go to that part of the video. Another thing to also mention, as I thought I'd just show this gingerbread house, this is already in the game, but I didn't realize it actually had an animation for the lights, which I thought is really cool. So yeah, there you go, a little tidbit. One of the large things which is being added to this update is extra functionality for specific types of bombs. So for example, this is the GBU-38 of the United States Air Force, and this is coming in not just as its own kind of thing. There is also another JBU-38 as well, the JDAM as it's known, and it's this one. It looks exactly the same, right? But this one is for the United States Air Force. This one is for the Navy. If you want to see how the JDAMs are going to work in the game, I talked about it in the extras video and kind of showed a demo of it, so make sure to check that out. Another thing as well is for the Soviets, you have so many of these 500 KR cab bombs nowadays. So you have this, the 500 KR, you have the L with the different head, and then you have the SE. Now, the guidance system that the Americans get on the JDAM, the Soviets also get on the Cab 500s, S specifically, which is on the dev server. There's going to be a bunch of other vehicles that are going to get access to these things, so look forward to them as they come in. One of the themes of this update, which is kind of surprising, at least to me, is also project ships. For the Russians, they obviously got a project ship that is on the dev server, and the Japanese have one which is sat in the files. This one was leaked. It's the Amagi, the battle cruiser that was never finished. So if you don't know the story of the Amagi, basically it was supposed to be part of a series of 4 battle cruisers that were built in the 1920s. Because of the Washington Naval Treaty in 1922, this would have had to have a large displacement, so therefore they decided to try and switch it into an aircraft carrier. Now, I believe we actually might have the Amagi in the game as an aircraft carrier, but this is the battle cruiser variant of it. So this is what it would have become if it actually continued to be a battle cruiser. Now, unfortunately, in real life, it was never even made into an aircraft carrier. Only one of them survived of this specific class, and that, I believe, is the one that we have in game, but it's not specifically the Amagi. This one, though, has 5 twin 16-inch guns, or 410cm guns, so big old boys, which will put out a lot of damage. You can see 2 turrets here on the front with this, which I'm guessing is like a part of the aiming system. And then also you have 3 turrets back here too. So you have 2 on the back and then 1 in the central area with the hydroplane on top too. The vehicle also has the kind of guns on the side here, which is really nice to see, and then also some torpedo tubes and single 120mm on the top as well. So would have been pretty well equipped in the 1920s. But as I said, this thing was actually never finished, and this one specifically, while it was being converted into an aircraft carrier, ended up getting hit by an earthquake, and basically they couldn't repair it. It was something that they decided not to do. So instead, what we have here is what would have been another project vehicle specifically for the Japanese. I'm kind of surprised, though, because I didn't really think the Japanese needed a vehicle like this. They have so many other options, but for some reason, this one is the one that was gone for. The next vehicle is the Barham, which we already had a look at in a video. So if you want to check that out, make sure to do so. This is the next event vehicle that is coming in for War Thunder. The interesting thing I saw is a lot of people were dissatisfied that we have another naval event, which is so close to a previous naval event. But you have to remember, Gaijin actually skipped the naval event in favor of doing the Centurion Avery event for the D-Day time. So Basically, this is kind of resetting the clock on how many separate vehicles you're supposed to have in the events, and that's why we're getting this now instead of a ground vehicle, which should be next. So yeah, this is the Barham. If you want to check it out, I made an individual video on it. Then we have another vehicle for naval, which is the Arras class, and this is specifically the Arras. Now, this is for France. The Arras class is interesting though, because there's different ones. So you have the Arras class, which was a battle class set of naval trawlers, which were designed for the British, used by people like the Australians and also others. But the specific one that was there, or the specific type that was around for the French, was a different type. It was basically a convoy escort vehicle, or at least it was used for convoy escorts, but you can see it's very close to that kind of like trawler transport idea, where they just kind of stuck guns on it. This one has two 138mm, so the same guns that you see on the destroyers, and then also it has this on the front, this gun, which I'm guessing is a 75mm, which has turned up. So this could easily be a vehicle which is either an AI vehicle, because it looks very similar to them, or it could be another addition to the French Blue Water or Coastal Tree. It does have a few other guns at the back here, but the model, as I said, isn't finished yet. You can obviously tell it doesn't have like the proper lacquer on it. This is what the insides look like, so a lot of ammo around the place and a few AA guns here and there. But the main reason you use this is the big old two guns in the center of it. Talking about French vehicles, we actually have another one which is pretty cool to see. It's the Mogador. Now, the Mogador is a French destroyer from the Second World War. It's a pretty modern type of destroyer, I suppose, for the French. If you don't know about France, unfortunately, they ended up capitulating halfway through the war. They were invaded by Germany, and this stopped a lot of projects, whether it was with their naval side of things, with their ground, or with their aviation side of things. This vehicle here, the Mogador, which is part of the Mogador class, was one of those which was built before the general invasion and ended up being used. There was two of them completed, but unfortunately both of them were lost during the Second World War. This vehicle has access to 4 twin 138.6mm, so the guns which are really fun to use for the French. It'll be interesting to see if the targeting speed is better on these guns, especially since they have better turrets compared to the other ones. And then also it had some 37mm and some 13.2s, so a very small kind of AA armament setup. If you've never used these guns, by the way, they are very low fire rate guns for the French. Definitely not very enjoyable to use, but yeah, they are at least there. You can see there's supposed to be mines or depth charges on the back of it too, and these guns, the way that they're actually modeled, they do have the internals modeled, which is really cool. Even the shells on the side here, which is really nice. So a very good job on the modeling itself. But yeah, this is one of the more modern kind of destroyers that was about during the Second World War for the French. It does have a very weird set of torpedoes, so 2 triple mounts on each side and then 2 dual mounts that you can see. And then, of course, the funnels, where it has a set of 4 of them in 2 dual sets, which is just very odd, but it'll make it very easy to distinguish what this vehicle is when you're fighting it. And then, on top of that, guess what? We have another French vehicle. So this is the third one in a row. This is actually a frigate, which is known as the Croix De Lorraine. It's part of the Surprise class, or the La Surprise class, I believe. And what you have with this vehicle is it's a river class. So this will go to the coastal part of the coastal part of the French tech tree. The River class is a frigate which was designed and built for the British, but the British obviously gave a bunch of vehicles to the Free French in order to use, such as the La Combattante, which we have in the Blue Water Fleet, the Hunt class, which is there. So this one used to be known as the Struhl, which was in service with the British. Then it was given to the Free French in order to use. You can see it's pretty reminiscent alignment of a lot of river classes. You have the larger caliber guns in the center right here, and then you have some 20mm that are dotted around the place for AA use. You can see even here the dual 20mm turrets as well, so giving it quite a lot of AA firepower. I like the river class. I think it's pretty fun. It's obviously better than the IO class and the flower class that we have in the game, and if the French get one, I think that would be completely fine. This thing actually served way into the 60s as well, so it's something that has been around for a long time, and not just something which was, used during the war and then kind of scrapped. We have a Italian boat, and I've got to be honest with you, this looks like a fishing boat, which has access to a gun on it. This one is the HMAS 441, and the equipment that this has access to is a Vickers Turney 40mm, which is what this gun is on the front, and also it's supposed to have an 8mm somewhere, and also depth charges. There's the 8mm on the back. So this will be some kind of Italian coastal machine, but let's be honest, this looks like a fishing boat that somebody has just stuck a gun on it, so not sure how effective it's going to be at the whole fighty thing. But who knows? Maybe it's fantastic. Maybe it takes the world by storm. But something tells me I am highly wrong in that statement. The last vehicle that is here is the Fremantle class. So this is actually a really modern machine. You know how we have the Orla and then also the Peacock? Well, this is another one of those modern kind of patrol boats. A lot of people talk about them adding, more modern machines in the game, but they always reference like missile destroyers basically. But this one is as modern as it gets. It was built in the 1970s, the late 1970s, and also the 1980s, and it was basically in commission, the first one in 1979, and it served until the mid-2000s, and eventually decommissioned in 2007. That's why you can see here it has a much more modern boat on it instead of the older kind of rowboats. So this vehicle has access to a 40mm that you can see on the front. It also has two 12.7mm, which are dotted around the place. You can see one there, and then I believe it has two over here. But this might be a 50. Yeah, it is a 50 cal, but it also looks like it has something else attached to it. Maybe a mortar, maybe like an 81mm or something. So maybe you can switch whether you want a 50 cal or a mortar on that area. So yeah, this is a really, really modern patrol boat, but because it doesn't have the fancy crazy weapons, everybody's just going to forget that it exists and then ask for more modern machines again, which is one of my favorite pastimes in naval. And you can see the engines at the bottom, you can see all the ammo, the steering gear at the back, which looks really cool. Look how that's set up actually with the tri setup. That's pretty awesome. Then also you have the bridge and the radio station, and the main thing is the 40mm on the front. So yeah, another really modern machine being added to the game. This one was used by the Royal Australian Navy, so a lot of Australian stuff this update, and also just a lot of like other nations, like kind of minor nation stuff in, which is really cool to see. So that's all the stuff that I found in the files. A lot of cool ships, but also some pretty cool weaponry too. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.